Today we are talking about the song Pacifist, which is probably one of our more accomplished songs. At least we've played it live in our last band, and it's gone through a lot of different iterations. And, as with all these songs, it's not finally landed in its final form. It's an ongoing process, and I think all art is an ongoing process. It's always a stepping stone to the next thing, at least. And okay, let's think about every different iteration it's had. Started as a trailer for one of my video games, actually, and that's kind of where a lot of the lyrics come from. The themes of the game, these kind of binaries, two things at once, an ambiguous thing going on. Then I had it where I played it quite fast, actually, and it was almost a kind of dubby song, a fast dub. Can you have a fast dub? Bassy, skeletal, and with "If you prepare for war, I'll be there for you, baby." This kind of pace, and then brought it to the band with Charlotte, and they were all saying, "Hey, we gotta slow it down. We gotta kind of bring something else out in it." And so that's kind of where it is now. It's a lot slower. And recently I've played it in my punk band, and a very, very different, pretty wild version. But it really is Charlotte's song. I think her voice is the voice for this song. So yeah, it's gone through a lot of different iterations. And for this vlog, this talking to camera thing doesn't really come naturally to me. So I asked Charlotte to send me some questions about the song, and let's go through them. First question: what different qualities can different versions of the same song bring? Yeah, this is really interesting. The first version was almost quite a commercial thing, a lot less challenging. It could almost be a background for visuals, where the visuals took prominence. And then with my version, it was almost uplifting. It was almost like a kind of anthem. It might be kind of affirming that the preparing for war and conflict is something worth considering. Then it might be. I'm not saying it was. It always had that ambiguity. And then when I brought it to Charlotte, it really brought something out in it which was a lot more, a lot sadder. A lot more. I don't think sadder is the word. I think the word is richer. A kind of a richness, and a different type of confrontation. There's still confrontation there. And then with the punk version, it's really just a kind of intro kind of song, an intro to something else, because it's got a different kind of pace to it. And also, it's interesting to see how Charlotte and I played it in that live version, because it's gone back to that kind of skeletal thing which I had when I first tried playing it with other musicians. It's gone back to very bassiness and a very kind of sparseness. We're going to build up on that, I'm sure. So different instrumentation and different players really bring out something different in songs, especially in this song. There's different threads to it which can be pulled. You know, when you hear someone singing Hallelujah, the Leonard Cohen Hallelujah, which is kind of endlessly covered by these NAF X Factor singers, somehow it's not pulling the song in different directions. It's kind of muddying it or something like this. Whereas I don't think the different versions of this song are muddying it. And, you know, I hate to kind of celebrate my own work or anything like that, but it's a different kind of thing. I don't think I am anyway, but it's a different kind of thing, the different versions. It's not... It's pulling in different directions, which is interesting. Second question. What's a pacifist to you? Yeah. Well, let's see what the next question after that is. A song about war. Is it literal, or does it have a secondary meaning? Oof. Okay, so I like to kind of start... When we played it live, I like to start Pacifist, the song, with a Noam Chomsky quote, which is... basically that in a war or in an act of violence, and we're talking literal violence here, the burden of proof is always on the aggressor. But Noam Chomsky then says, but sometimes that burden can be met. And having protested against some pretty harsh nationalism in Eastern Europe, and kind of been, I don't know if you've heard of Antifa. It's a very different thing these days, but being at the beginnings of Antifa, really realizing that sometimes just sitting down and doing peaceful things sadly just isn't enough. We've got some real things going on, and we need to kind of nip it in the bud. I'm not sure how I feel about protests these days, but I've got very complicated feelings of protest. But you know, if pacifism in its historical way of conscientious objectors and things like this, actually don't stop war, don't stop violence, don't stop bigotry and fascism, literal fascism, and if this kind of a pacifist in that kind of sense doesn't stop violence, then is kind of neutered, kind of useless. And so maybe a pacifist these days has to kind of do some uncomfortable things to stop greater... You basically punch Nazis. If someone's being racist, give them a clout. That's how I truly feel, yeah. No, I don't mean it. No, never be violent. You know, talk to people, because people always listen. A song about war. Is it literal, or does it have a secondary meaning? Yeah, as I said before, meaning is there for the listener. Conflict is a story by definition is some kind of conflict. So the meaning can definitely be transposed to different situations. I especially think in the one which I think for me the different interpretations of this pacifism or preparing for war or if you prepare for war, war is what you're getting. I think, it's kind of based on the English-German arms race of the First World War, but it kind of can be used as a metaphor for arguments in relationships, which are obviously two very different things, and it can also be a metaphor or analogy for a falling out. So it's not just got a secondary meaning, it's got infinitesimal amounts of meanings, and I think that's the strength of art. It helps you understand better the world of meaning in which we live. Would you call the song a protest song? Yeah, no, I don't think I would. I don't think protest songs work anymore. I don't think the problem is if you hear protest songs or even protest poems, you've got this Kate Tempest got her book somewhere signed. So it's not that I'm not a fan, but protest songs don't work in the same way in 2020. They don't work in the same way they did in the late 1950s or the 60s. The problem is we've become too cynical as a culture to allow for protest songs, and this is ubiquitous. If you hear someone protesting in a song or something, it really sounds petulant. It sounds like an angry teenager or something, and there's no way around that. You can be as literate and as well spoken as you like. You still the underlying thing always has a kind of air of petulance to it, of kind of brattiness, and that completely undermines a kind of a protest sentiment. So how do we kind of get past this world of irony we live in? And I think the best way to do it is to firstly to pose questions. I did a raising intonation there. To pose questions. And the other thing is to maybe, a bit of role play. Act out what it's like to be on the side you disagree with, and put that out there so you can understand the thought processes behind a side which is disruptive, or we just got to understand each other more, and that's how we do it. We can't just be protesting. I think I've got very complicated feelings on protest. Yes. So where do you see people listening to this? I mean, people listen to things on headphones a lot these days, on their phones, when they're going for walks and stuff. But I really think the best place to listen to anything is performed in a room, and probably, well, the question's not where's the best place to listen to it, but the best place is in a smallish room with people you know, and it being performed to you, preferably by Charlotte. Where do I see people listening to this? Bus rides. That's where I would listen to kind of gloomy challenging music. Grit my teeth. Listen to it on the bus ride. You know, when you're out and about, having things on headphones kind of changes the world around you. It's bizarre. Okay, so I've talked quite a lot about this song. Hopefully by the end of the week have a video for it with a nicer version a nicer recorded version of it. And yeah, thanks for listening. Remember to